I'd like to welcome everybody. Thank you for coming to our combined meeting. Plymouth Area Democrats usually has a monthly meeting at the Senior Center with a potluck, which has terrific food and very good wine. But tonight, because of the debate, we decided to combine this event with the debate. So tonight we have 10 local candidates that are going to speak to you before the debate. I wanted to mention before we get started that this is supposed to be a fun night. We have a bar where you can get some drinks, you can order food, and they will bring it to you here. We also have free coffee and tea and water and popcorn in the back room. What we'd like to do tonight is to get going with our speakers right away and be done by 8:30, and then we'll take a break for half an hour because the debate starts at 9. That'll give everybody a chance to go to the bar, to go to the bathroom, do whatever you need. As we say, hydrate and dehydrate. So I'd like to start right off with our candidate for the Register of Deeds, Kelly Monahan, an incumbent.
As Drake said, I am an incumbent. I've been running for my 4th consecutive term as Registered Deeds Officer. 10 years ago, I received a letter from my youngest brother, I'm the oldest of 5. He's the archive librarian at the British American Museum at Yale, and it was my great-grandfather's obituary. And my dad passed early, and my mom, a card-carrying wasp, teetotaler, buried our Irish side. We knew that my great-grandfather traveled with Mark Twain, that he wrote and published many books. We were aware that he was the night editor of the Albany Press during the lead-up to suffrage. What I was not aware of until I received this document, this archival document from my brother, was that my great-grandmother was publicly displayed and divorced for her opinion, her voice, her work for suffrage, her writing for suffrage. Mother of 12 live births, mother of 8 children, was publicly displayed and ridiculed and divorced for that voice. We share a birthday, which really rocked my world. My mother, with this document, understood where I came from, and my ex-husband understood where I came from. 80 years later, my marriage dissolved for pretty much the same reasons. My high school sweetheart was no longer recognizable due to corporate America in Hartford, Connecticut. I was divorced for my opinion, my voice, my work, and my values. And I opened up the out-of-state real estate and chose Orford, New Hampshire to start a new business and to raise my 3 sons. Orford, Fairleigh, Berkshire, and West Fairleigh had recently voted to form the first K-12 interstate school district in the country. And I said, this is where I'm going to go and invest my 3 sons and build community. And that's what we did. Rivendell last year was named the 11th most successful high school in the state of New Hampshire. My sons were 3 National Honor students that were leaders in that school, and we built community. Orford awarded me or penalized me at town meeting this year as I was appointed to the new person on the Budget Advisory Committee. And if anyone here understands historical politics in this state, you know exactly who I'm going head-to-head with in Orford. With courtesy and a smile, and November 2nd will be our first meeting. Next month, I expect to be appointed to a vacated position at the Orford Planning Board. I've followed that for many years and contributed to that advice as registered deed to that board as we make our way, being one of the last no-zoning towns in New Hampshire. Through these experiences and my new running for office and my work in Orford, the second thing I did after helping Rivendell form was help Carl Schmidt form the Orford Democratic Committee. And I give a lot of energy to that, building that. I've been questioned because my signs can be on many Republicans' properties of my democratic values. And I ask you, with me sharing this personal experience, please never question my democratic values. A little bit about my business experience. My dad told me at an early age, Kelly, Jean, don't ever work for anyone else because they can't pay you what you're worth. work for yourself. Started Girl Scouts, Avon, plants. A lot of people think the American dream is a one-way ascent. There's a whole lot of fake destiny, luck, and fraud involved with that. My family, my parents weren't so lucky. I hit the ground running, being the oldest of 5, went to a 2-year college. I knew what I wanted to do. I got an associate's degree in business and horticulture. My first job out of college was managing the biggest flower shop in Atlanta, Georgia, following my fiance from his career. I managed 3 African-American men, 5 gay men, 4 Southern Belles who were older, 4 Southern Belles who were younger, during the build-up to the AIDS crisis where no one knew how it was contagious. I hope I never have a managerial challenge like that at 21. We did it with camaraderie and a smile and efficiency. In one corner of this very large shop was a big box, and I opened it one day and it was a computer. It was one of the first FTD Mercury machines. So I said to myself, well, these 4 Southern Belles on the phone are not, with their accents, are not being very efficient with their accents, explaining high-end, high volume sales. So I put a 20-year-old on the computer and assured the jobs would still be there, just changed. This became the foundation for my career, change management with incorporated technology. Assessing the situation, getting to change for efficiency without losing jobs. That's what I brought to the Registry of Deeds. I'd like to talk to a brief moment on the registry. We're at the bottom of the ballot. Unless you have a problem, you don't understand what we do, because we run like silk. We are the envy of the rest of the world. The official public record is the foundation of our capitalist society. If you can prove what you own, you can then leverage that to form a small business, to send your kids to college, or maybe buy a vacation home. We are the envy of the world. We are under threat for privatization like you would not believe. New Hampshire's founders place such great value on this that my office is a constitutional office. That upsets the bankers and the privatization people to no ends. That they have to mess with the New Hampshire Constitution to get this. I've been in office almost 6 years. I earned the confidence and support of my affiliate, which is predominantly Republican. The land records in this state are run by 10 million more people. 9 other women. Republican, and we actually had quite an interesting meeting today. I've earned their respect so much so that they asked me to put together a PowerPoint to speak to the Office of Energy and Planning last year, which I presented on the foundation and function of the office. That was very well received, so much so that last month I expanded it to an hour and a half to speak to 200 New Hampshire tax collectors at their conference, which was very well received. What I've done in office, I've been a leader in technology conversion. We've been the first to go to a new recording system. I've been a leader in consolidating and seeking uniform policy to make business easier, what they can expect from each registry in New Hampshire. You have to understand a modern database can go to the internet like that, something compiled over 250 years with a different elected official every 2 years, spread out over 10 counties, can become quite a challenge to bring that to the internet. So I worked in technology conversion across party lines and across county lines, uniform policy, legislative efforts. A few years ago, we had sovereign citizens using our offices to file false leads against anyone they had a grudge against. They were ruining people's credits, ruining people's lives. Sheriff's Association, registers brought this forward to the sheriffs and county attorneys. We worked very quietly. I testified, we wrote the legislation. They wanted a Class B misdemeanor. I argued for a Class B felony. We received that. I went to Property Records Industry Association in Savannah this year representing New Hampshire. I produced what our legislation was, and it was called the gold standard for the rest of the states to follow. Once this went into law, the problem was eliminated. We had no more problems. This past January and February, another legislation, a big one came, where a gentleman and his investors decided to use New Hampshire as a test state to return to a torn system of land records where the government backs it. He was going to create the 11th registry, already had licenses and patents, where he was going to sell the aggregated data to the real estate market community. As we started testifying, the mouths started dropping open and the apologies began in the Senate. So this is the type of work we do quietly. It's not on the front page of every paper because we don't want it there. I'll speak more about money on Friday night because my former opponent, the former register, is a money numbers guy. Quickly, I'm running the office $150,000 a year, less than his former budget. And under 47817G, I have the authority to enact random fees, which I did. The out-of-state, out-of-country, out-of-cross-county line users now pay $120 a year to have an account and access our office. An $80,000 software line is now being covered $52,000 by these users, with no one ever complaining, for $10 a month to access this. We were ground zero for Northern Pass. People not knowing that a lot of the easements were written in the 30s and 40s, we wept a lot of tears and saw a lot of lives destroyed. That's why my signs may be on a lot of Republicans' property. The demographics and the vote count for Grafton County rely on, for the Grafton County wide, rely on the college student vote, which is an unpredictable vote, an undependable vote. I need every Republican vote I can get, and I'm working for them. So if I upset people, that is why. This may be my swan song tonight because I won't be back in 2 years. And my staff is terrified, so if anyone can take a sign, if anyone can talk to a Republican friend, my staff would, and the legal and real estate communities would greatly appreciate it because they're the ones who reconnect. I thank you all for being there, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you, Kelly. Nice to hear from you. Now we have Josh. Where's Josh? Josh, come on up. Josh Johnson is from House District 9. He's running for House District 9. It's a tough district, we know, but we're happy to have you back here. Thank you, Josh.
Washington Street, River Road, Dick Brown Road, and Washburn Road. These are all streets and roads that my campaign has been canvassing on in the last month. They are far from Main Street, as many of the residents are surprised to see someone coming out to talk to them. They're often even more surprised to see someone from the major parties coming out their way. There is a large majority of people in this county that hurt every single day. They will not show up to phone banking events. You will not see them at visibility days. You will likely not see them getting out to vote. They do not care about making America great again or making history with her for either party, because it's easy to give up when administration after administration goes by and their quality of life does not seem to improve. Under President Bush, many of them saw their retirement shrink in the 2008 financial crisis, while under President Obama, many of them saw their premiums increase after the passage of the Affordable Care Act. I talk to these people every day. We knock on doors every day, talking to whoever has a problem that they want to address. And I'll tell you one thing. I've talked to 1,000 people so far, and not one person has talked about comments that Donald Trump made to Billy Bush on a bus 11 years ago. As disgusting and vile as those comments are, they are not the topic of conversation in most local households. I met a woman on Depot Street in Ashland talking about how she got into heroin because she couldn't afford her medication and she was not able to operate because of the terrible pain that she lived in. I felt a deep sadness in my heart as she began to cry, telling me she was ashamed and feared her life was over. Instead of handing her campaign information, she now has my cell phone number, and I plan on having her involved in the next session when we begin to deal with the opioid crisis. Or the couple in Bristol that every month has to decide what bills they're going to pay. You see, they're on Social Security, and because they have an income of $20,000 a year between the two of them, and their property taxes are so high, food and heat oftentimes have to take a backseat to having a roof over their head. Good, honest, hard-working people who never cheated or even missed a night's prayer in their life lose faith in the system when instead of talking about them or their issues, we wrap ourselves in hysteria about pretending, like all of a sudden, the billionaire who had kids with each of his 3 wives should now be a moral authority. I met a woman the other week ready to rip me a new one because she thought I was a current representative and wasn't doing anything about the fact that her husband on disability could not qualify for Medicaid. People care, but they do not care about manufactured outrage. Senator Sanders did not win 22 states in the primary because people liked his haircut, but rather because he cared, and he still cares. Secretary Clinton will be the next president of the United States, and if I didn't agree with most of the Democratic platform, I promise you that I would not be here. But we need to remember why we are here. We cannot pat ourselves on the back on top of a high horse. We will only bring people into the Democratic Party if we make serious efforts to demonstrate that we are still the party of Jackson, that we are still the party of the common man, that we are still the party of Kennedy and of Franklin Roosevelt. I do promise that people give a damn, but they need to see us give a damn as well.
Thank you, Josh. Mike Cryans is here from the, running for the Executive Council. Mike, nice to see you again.
Thank you. Thought I'd start out with my little map. If there are 5 executive council districts in the state, 4 of them are right down here. And if someone one time when I was doing this raised their hand and said, "What's all that below New Hampshire?" I said, "That's the rest of New Hampshire." We are in District Number 1, which runs from Claremont, Laconia, and Stratford County all the way to the Canadian border, about 2/3 of the state, but only 20% of the population. First of all, before I get into the Executive Council, I was pleased today to drive in as I drove by Katie over there on the street that leads in off 25, and the wonderful work that both Martha and I help to support as county commissioners, that Deb Narrow does, fighting the opioid crisis. It's phenomenal what they do. And then you come down that hill and you take a left, and as you come around that little circle, we're right there at the Enterprise Center, which the county again was involved in, which is spinning off jobs and creating jobs, and hopefully helping young entrepreneurs in this area develop something that can be a reason to stay in the area, because we all know more and more young people are leaving. Further north we go. I'll give you one quick example. I'll give you 2 examples. I was with Jeannie Shaheen when she was running, hoping to be governor back in 1996, and we went to Berlin High School. And all the seniors are sitting in the typical gym-type auditorium setting there, bleachers setting, I should say. And she said, "How many upon graduation plan on staying in Berlin?" One lone hand went up. And I said to myself, that's a death knell for community when only one young person. I can remember when I graduated from high school in Littleton 47 years ago, and a number of my classmates stayed in Littleton, did well in Littleton, are still in Littleton, and will probably die in Littleton. You don't want them all staying, but you don't want them all leaving either. So to follow up on that, I was up at the Dairy Bar, which is, I always think of the Dairy Bar as, not the one even outside here, it's the one where they use the whipped ice cream and you get that and you walk away. And so I'm in the Dairy Bar restaurant up in Berlin, and there were 3 women, probably all in their 80s, and I went over and introduced myself, said I'm running for Executive Council. Is there anything that concerns you that I can help you with? And they said, one issue, all the young people are leaving. It wasn't, what can you do for us, either better Social Security, Medicare, any of these issues, housing or anything. It was like, almost like we've lived a good life. We've done well living here, and yet look around. We all look alike. We're all gray hair, we're all older, and there's no young people. So there's 2 examples. The final thing is, I picked on Martha, but I recognized her a second ago. There is no one that should be more recognized at the county level for what she did with the biomass plant that reduced our overall fossil fuel oil burning from 100,000 gallons all the way down to 9,000 gallons in 1 year. So from 100,000 gallons to 9,000 gallons, because today we're burning wood chips. So Martha, thank you for that. And, when you get in politics sometimes, a couple of things. I'll never forget Ray Burton says you've got to do it with humor and really enjoy what you're doing. But also you develop some good friends. And Martha and I've been there 19 years. She was 10 years, you do develop a good friendship, and I will miss seeing her every Tuesday. Hopefully she'll miss seeing me, and hopefully I will continue in politics as she continues taking vacations with her husband. So, but let me tell you briefly about the Executive Council, because many people, maybe not even in this room, but watching it on the video, will realize that the Executive Council plays some important roles. First of all, with the governor, there are 5 people that sit around, 1 from each of those districts. When the governor nominates someone for either a commission, a board, a department head, a judicial position, whether it's district superior or Supreme Court, she or he, whoever is the governor at that time, has to get 5 out of the 5, has to get 3 votes. If you don't get that 3 votes, you can be the most eminently qualified for the job, you're not going to get the job. So, and there's been examples like that where people have not gotten the 3 votes. So that's one part of it. Another part is all of the contracts from $25,000 and above, the state lets out, which there's a lot of them, they have to again be approved by the Executive Council. And finally, probably one thing, and I'll pull Ray back into this, Ray Burton redefined how an Executive Councilor handles District Number 1, because people north of Concord so often feel forgotten. And you have to be that person's voice, not only in Concord, but bringing Concord from Concord out into District Number 1, because that is crucial. And the further north you get, the more forgotten you feel. I grew up in Littleton, which is about halfway between here and Berlin. I think I have a pretty good understanding. I can remember going to Berlin as a high school basketball player. It's hard to believe I played basketball, but I was a high school basketball player. Better distance runner, but I did play basketball. And we would go up there, and the big thing was the odor in the air. And I don't mean to be graphic about it, but it did mean 5,000 people were working in the mills. Today, the mills are silent, and people have left. And probably the more signs are seen for sale signs than probably campaign signs right now. So it's, and you can't sell your house. So I want to represent the whole district. I want to be there for people. I want to be that person when someone calls, I can get there. When someone calls and I said I have to reach out to a senator, I can reach out to Charlie Chandler or Jeff Woodburn, to help me in certain issues, or your local representatives. I can go into the community. But I don't know how many select boards have called me and said, we need to see that person out there. Ray spoiled us. We need that again. And so I promise you, if I get this job, which I'm running hard each and every day, and I look around a lot of familiar faces I see, thank you for all you do for me. If I get there, I will work as hard as I can each and every day and give you 100%. And I think the best person that can vouch for me in this room is Martha, because she's served with me for those years. And I think it's what you do at that table. At the county level, if you do a good job there, I think it moves well to the next level, Executive Council. So again, I ask you for your vote. I will do my best, and thank you for all you've done for me. Thanks.
Mike, I wonder how many miles you put in your car every day.
Just passed 90,000 miles running for the last 26 years.
Running by this
Just
way.
running.
Running this way.
Too many miles on the car, but that's what they're made for.
Steve Grant.
Here,
Steve.
present.
There you go. Steve Grant is running for House District 8, that's Plymouth, Hebron, and Bolton.
Thank you, friends. I know you're all my friends, because I know you're all good Democrats, and if you're not, you should become one. Special thank you to Josh. I think there is a young man with tremendous purpose, and we need folks like that with tremendous purpose. He and I are joined together by a love for what Bernie Sanders represents, and I think maybe having an old guy like me and a young guy like him in the legislature may be what we need to take them high and low in order to make the changes that we need. So a little bit about me. I'm a local hardware guy. I'm a Plymouth person. I grew up here. I run my third generation hardware store. I've been doing that for 45 years. I'm all done with being the active guy there, so I have time to work this. I've been very active in all kinds of enterprises, mostly civic ones in this town, and I've had a bunch of experiences, including the business one. So a businessman, Democrat, may not be the most usual situation, but I think it does give me a little bit of an edge in terms of being able to bring my experience of actually doing it and argue for our democratic values at the same time. I grew up as a Republican family. I think the Republican Party kind of left me. You hear that a lot. And I think the specific moment when it left me was when I woke up to the fact that I could no longer give my employees health insurance. And I couldn't pay them as well as they should be paid either. The health insurance was just like, it was a big hammer. It came down on my head, and I said, really? I can't do this anymore? And I said, what's wrong with this system that I can't do this because we have this so-called free enterprise economy that was supposed to take care of all that. People were supposed to be taken care of. We were supposed to, the invisible hand was supposed to work. We'd come out and reshuffle all the resources so that people would get taken care of, but it wasn't happening. And I said to myself, I can't be a Republican anymore. That doesn't work. So I became an independent. Then just last year, basically, I got the Bernie fever, and I worked really hard on Bernie, for Bernie, with Bernie. I ran his office here on Main Street. My partner and I are, she gave me a Bernie doll for Christmas. But it's not Bernie himself, although he does have nice hair. It's not Bernie himself that's so interesting. It's his ideas, and also I take great heart in knowing that Bernie is actually he's a person that has ideas that apply not only at the federal level but to the state. So we need to take care of those of us who are unable to take care of themselves. It's a societal value. We're a party of value. We need to do that, and we need to fight the I hate to say the other side, but the folks who are all wrapped up in how little money they want to spend, and that's a hard job. It's a hard job that we are going to that I'm going to try to wage. Josh and I are going to try to wage in Concord, because let's face it, we have a stingy state. Our state is unbelievably stingy. We can actually, and I'll give you a few examples. I love the state, of course, and it's beautiful, and it gives me a nice, it's given me a reasonable living, and I raise my kids. I love raising my kids here, but as you're hearing, the people. Our kids are no longer staying. And somewhere along the line, the stinginess has caught up to us. The stinginess has caused us to become a place where, use it for what you want, and then leave. It's not giving you what you want and leave. And I think part of it is the ethic that we have arrived at. Maybe the leadership we've had. I know there's been a lot of attempts to make this different, but so what I'm saying to you is that after Bernie was not able to make the top of the ticket and was going to be able to work it from the top down, I said, well, what am I going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to have to try to work it from the bottom up. I'm just going to have to just go there and see what I can do to make a difference, because there's more than one way to skin a cat. So I'm going to use it. So I just want to tell you, it really burns me up, some of the things that happen in this state. It burns me up that we voted for Medicare expansion, but only 1 year at a time. Come on, really? You know, like, and you know the result. You know, we don't get private enterprise to invest. It burns me up that, you know, we're really late to the party on the opioid crisis, and we are chintzy. We are, you know, our response is chintzy. This state spends $8.81 per person on addiction treatment, and as compared to $25.70 per person average across New England. Chintzy, right? You know, I mean, you got to call it what it is. We need to step up, right? We think that our state's responsibility for an adequate K-12 education amounts to $3,700. Really? Really? Yeah, try it. You know, try to educate a kid for 32. What's the rationale there? How does that work? We have no state minimum wage, and we cut state support to our state institution by 50%. I don't know. That's a small list of things. The thing is that we are actually, as far as being able to pay, we're in the catbird seat because we're the fifth most. We have the fifth highest income per capita of any state in the union. That puts us in the top 10% of the wealthiest country in the world. Top 10% of the wealthiest country in the world, and we can't do these few things that I listed here. We can't do it. Why can't we? That's because we haven't pushed it. Bottom line. Now, what's it take? We got to expand our revenue sources. We have to expand our revenue sources. We have to rally our people to institute, I think, an income tax. Who cares? And one that's not regressive, because all our taxes are regressive, which is why folks that Josh is talking to are saying, you know, like, we're in a hole. We can't get out of this hole, and it's very, very disconcerting. So there we are. Of course, in order to do these things, you have to be able to work together, have some skills in that area. I call them chintzy, you know, but not to their face. You know, a little humor goes a long way, and some ability to relate, you know, because and it's kind of what I'm, you know, people call me the mayor of Plymouth, although I'm not, but I mean, but I do like to form relationships, and I think it's with the relationships that you can make things happen. With the exception of possibly Vladimir Putin. But with other people besides him, I think you can find the deep human connection that we all have, because when you look at our DNA and you find that, guess what? 99.9% of us is all the same as the next person sitting you, but what we look at is their difference. We don't look at what is alike about them, and that's a principle that I'll bring. So I want to be part of changing this. I know I can't do it all myself. I'm interested in finding kindred spirits. That's what part of my first foray is, to find kindred spirits. Josh and I will go down there arm in arm, or butt to butt. I don't know. And we'll get something going there, I think, and so the big things to me is that if we see an opportunity to change minds, it eventually boils down to bringing people to Concord or to wherever to impress upon the folks who make the decisions at the legislature that yes, there is support. So when we call, it'll be necessary to get on the bus, to hire the bus, and you know, make sure the wheels aren't flat. So thanks very much. I'm really thirsty.
Thank House District 15. We have Warren that kind of overlaps her area, but it's nice to see you. Rachel?
You probably don't know who I am. I live up near in a little town called Landaff, which was originally supposed to be the home of Dartmouth College. We won. We didn't get it. It's a beautiful, beautiful little town spread out, about 300 people, a little bigger than where I grew up in northwestern Ohio with 200 people. I'm moving up in the world. First of all, I'd like to thank the Plymouth Area Democrats for their support and for inviting me here and all of this. It's quite an honor, and I really appreciate it. I'm running for Grafton County District 15 House Representatives. It's all the way from Landaff, which is up by Littleton, all the way down south to includes Warren, Piermont, Orford, and all little places along the way. It's one of the so-called flotarial districts that were gerrymandered by the Republicans in 2011 to try to get more Republican votes. They said it was because we didn't have enough representation. The more districts you get, the more votes, the more you win. We all know how that works. So for a Democrat to win in my district, it helps if she's a strong candidate and capable, like me. And the candidates for office above her are less popular, like Kelly Inarayat and Donald Trump. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am a Vietnam-era veteran. I served for 9 years as a linguist. My major languages are Chinese, Arabic, Spanish, and French, with a smattering of other languages. The last 2 years I was in the Navy, they brought in this brand new thing that nobody had ever heard of before. It was called a computer. Nobody knew what it was, and they said, okay, we need somebody to learn how to work this thing. I said, okay, I'm bored, and I want to learn how to do it. So I taught myself how to program the computer, and when I got out, I went on to program naval weapon systems for 30 years. You ever see the ships that shoot their missiles out of their decks? There's one of them in the news right now being shot on. I programmed those for 30 years, and submarines. I also worked for the last 10 years on the programs as a manager, where I worked with foreign and U.S. naval officers daily to fix complex problems and handle administrative issues and balance budgets, all that kind of stuff. All of the stuff, I have to say, that my opponent has none of it. He says he's a veteran, he went to Afghanistan, good for him, I appreciate his service, like I would anybody who served in the military. But I think I have a little bit more experience than he does. But in 2005, I was hospitalized in a coma with a tick-borne illness called Rocky Mountain Spotted Fever. I was living in New Jersey at the time. I lived there for 26 years. I'm getting over that now. But I ended up having to retire early. I had to learn how to walk and talk again. It was very, very serious. I almost died, and they expected me to either die or come out of it with severe brain damage. So I tried to go back to work, and I couldn't, so I decided, okay, what am I going to do now? So I need to make my life meaningful, so I volunteer now. I just came today from volunteering at the Littleton Hospital in the music therapy program. I play guitar and sing for the patients. I also volunteer with the newly disabled sports program to teach other disabled people how to ski. This will be my 7th year doing this. And that's at least something that I can do. And as you can see, I've devoted my entire adult life to the service of our country, to the service of people, because that's important to me. That's what makes me what I am. And right now, what I see in our country is not what I serve the country for. This is not the America that I know. It's become horribly divided, horribly racist, horribly misogynist, all the stuff that I just can't sit still for. I'm just outraged to see the intransigence and the open hostility in our government that's created, oh yeah, well, we don't like you, we're not gonna do that. For 8 years we've seen this in Washington, and we're seeing it at the same time now in New Hampshire. Everything is the same. Nothing gets done. The only saving grace we have is that we've had Democratic governors that have been able to say, no, I'm going to veto that. We're not going to do that. And that's the only thing that's kept us from falling into the same hole that the federal government has done. People ask me, I just heard this today, somebody asked me, why in the world did you get into this with all of the work that's involved? I got into this race out of compassion, which is basically the word that I use for my entire life, what my entire life is based on. I saw in May on the news an article about in a high school down south where somebody said these bathrooms, they put a sign up on the bathrooms. They said these bathrooms are only for real boys and real girls. And I said, no. I said, no, I cannot sit back and see this happen. I can't sit back and see New Hampshire become North Carolina. I can't do that. Maggie Hassan did something last year that provided, protections for all transgender people in the state that work for the government. There was another bill that was out to provide those protections for all transgender people in New Hampshire. That didn't get passed. So that's still sitting there. I went through the bathroom bill that they're talking about, the bathroom problems that they're talking about in 1991, before anybody even knew what transgender meant, what the bathroom bills meant, how it was to treat somebody who was transgender. Like, what does that mean? I went through all of this. I'm a transgender person myself. And if I'm elected, I will be the first transgender person to sit in the House of Representatives in New Hampshire. And by God, I'm going to make the most of it. I am not a shrinking violin. I even wrote a book about my life about this. It's called Wishing on a Star, My Journey Across the Gender Divide. To help other people understand, to help other people who are going through it so that they can understand that there is a light at the end of the tunnel and it's not an oncoming train. Right? So, like I said, I cannot let this happen here. I will not let this happen here. I need to be in the House so that I can keep this from happening here. Bumper sticker on my car says, voting is like driving. Choose D to go forward, choose R to move backwards. Because I'm a veteran and a Democrat, I will fight for veterans, for fair wages, for our seniors, and for the future of our state. I have been endorsed by the Teamsters Local 663, by Rights and Democracy out of Manchester, by the Victory Fund, by the Gill Foundation, by the Human Rights Campaign. That was unbelievable that I got that. And just today, the Sierra Club, which just warms my heart to get all of this. I need your support and the support of everyone you know to get me elected over my young Tea Party opponent from Orford, who has no life experiences at all to make him even remotely capable of doing this job or qualified to sit in the House. We don't need another ultra-conservative helping to make laws in our state. Help me move New Hampshire forward. Help us move New Hampshire forward. Help us to keep New Hampshire and America great. Thank you.